Hello there. For many years, upwards-only rent reviews have generally been lawful and enforceable in commercial leases in the UK. Now, they're commonly found in open market rent reviews, index-linked reviews, RPI or CPI, turnover rent arrangements with a minimum rent, or reviews that impose a collar, i.e. a minimum rent on review. Now, all of these are rent review structures where the parties can write into the review provisions that the rent can never go down on a review. And courts have traditionally treated upwards-only rent reviews as a matter of contractual freedom between landlord and tenant. However, the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act 2026 has now introduced a statutory framework to prohibit them in future commercial leases. This has been brought in to end the perceived negative effect of upwards-only rent reviews on the retail sector, therefore as another attempt to end the blight of vacant high streets and the antisocial behaviour that goes with them. But it applies to business leases across all sectors. And once the relevant sections are brought into force, expected to be in 2027, new commercial leases in England and Wales will no longer be able to contain upwards-only variable rent review clauses. I'll come on to step rents, ascertainable as opposed to variable reviews, in a minute. If the reviewed rent is determined by market value, turnover or indexation, the review must be capable of going upwards and downwards, and any attempt to impose a floor or a collar preventing downward movement is expected to be ineffective. Now, the legislation effectively rewrites offending clauses so that the rent review will become upwards and downwards instead. Now, the reforms are not retrospective. The following are expected to remain unaffected. All leases granted before commencement of the legislation, that's all existing leases now, and any new leases granted before commencement. Also, leases granted pursuant to agreements entered into before commencement, even if the lease is completed after commencement. Now, that means there's likely to be a substantial legacy stock of upwards-only leases continuing for many years. What are we likely to see more of? Well, we're likely to see more fixed or stepped rent increases written into the lease from the outset. They are ascertainable increases. They're not variable increases. Therefore, they are not going to be banned. Index-linked reviews, I think we're going to see a lot more of. Inflation, of course, is almost always on an upwards trajectory. Annual CPI indexation has never gone down in the last 20 years. Annual RPI indexation has only gone down once, back in 2009. So as long as there are no floors or collars, expect to see index-linked reviews becoming more prevalent in the market. Now, what about higher of mechanisms, i.e. the higher of an open market rent and an index-linked rent? So on review, you've got your index-linked rent as your threshold, which, as I've just said, is likely to result in an increase in the passing rent. But you still have your open market review, which could increase the review rent still further. Well, it's not clear. The government's going to consult on that before bringing the ban into force. But certainly if that is going to be permitted, that's going to become a much more common mechanism, I think. So I'm not sure the changes are going to be absolutely seismic here. Certainly in the Republic of Ireland, where upwards-only rent reviews were banned back in 2010, there's little evidence that the ban caused major disruption to the commercial property market. Indeed, a recent RICS review noted that after 15 years, the Irish market has largely adapted and the system has become accepted as normal. We wait to see in England and Wales, and I'll see you again soon.